You're welcome to the Power Circuit, a program of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, that enlightens you about its role in the electricity supply value chain. The program also showcases the unrelenting efforts of the Honorable Minister of Power as he implements reforms for the Nigerian power sector. In this episode, here are the stories lined up for you. Federal government raises committee to restructure power ministry, oversight agencies. TCN creates Katsina Jalingo transmission work centers. TCN holds workshop for system operators on electricity market coordination. How TCN's reactors improve high voltage bulk power transmission on national grid. My name is Chinwenwa Anyao. The Minister of Power, Engineer Salim Maman, has inaugurated a 9-man committee on the restructuring of the Federal Ministry of Power and oversight of its agencies. Engineer Maman said restructuring of the Ministry of Power and its agencies was a critical factor for achieving the ministry's goals, objectives, and overall mandate.
The minister was joined by the Minister of State for Power, Mr. Godijedi Agba, the heads of power sector agencies, including the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, directors from the ministry, and other stakeholders. The committee will establish modalities for the implementation of the restructuring within the ministry's relevant departments, units, and oversight of its agencies.
This significant undertaking is born out of needs to create bonding and teaming work among the relevant departments, units, and strengthen oversight of the agencies, which are critical factors for achieving the ministry goals, objectives, and overall mandates. I believe that working as a team, we will excel and fulfill the mandate of the ministry. The power sector is in the process of undergoing long-term structural market reform and has gone through the first phase of privatization with the hope of unlocking investment and improving service delivery in the sector.
According to the minister, the committee is tasked with establishing the modalities that will inform implementation of the restructuring within the ministry's relevant departments, units, and oversight of its agencies.
The following are the specific terms of reference to guide the committee. Number 1, examine the existing factor of the department in the ministry and streamline them to align with the department mandates. Number 2, examine and streamline the oversight function of the agencies by the department, ensuring that the departments to oversee the agencies have the requisite level of administrative and technical knowledge and specification. And number 3, design a template for uniform oversight of the agencies. And lastly, mark any other recommendation that will enhance the effective and efficient administration of the ministry and our agencies.
The Minister of State Power, Mr. Godijedi Agba, said the restructuring was aimed at achieving sustainable, reliable, stable, and affordable power supply in line with the mandates of the ministry.
You may be aware that restructuring is expected to harmonize and streamline the functions, projects of the departments and units in order to enhance efficiency and effectiveness in the implementation of decisions and responsibilities of this ministry. It is also aimed at achieving sustainable, reliable, stable, and affordable power supply in Nigeria, in line with the ministry's vision and mission statement and the mandate of our ministry.
Members of the committee include representatives from the relevant departments, Office of the Head of Service of the Federation, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, and aides to the ministers.
The Executive Director of the Independent System Operations, ISO, at the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, Engineer Maman Lawal, has charged system operators at TCN to deepen their knowledge on the workings of various market operation strategies, including the power purchase agreement for coordinating the Nigerian electricity market.
The Executive Director of ISO, Engineer Maman Lawal, gave the charge at the opening ceremony of a 5-day workshop titled Understanding Power Purchase Agreements in Abuja, where he asked the participants to critically understudy the role of the system operator.
I asked, who is the system operator? Right? Is it the substation electrical operator? Yeah. Is it the grid managers? Is it the grid controllers? Is it the operational planners? Is it the SCADA engineers, the communication engineers? Is it even the market operator? And again, who is the market operator? These are related questions that will be properly addressed. Okay? No. This workshop is expected to last for 3 days, isn't it?
Yes, 4.
Engineer Lawal said at the end of the training, he expects that the participants will have enriched themselves on the power purchase agreement drafting and execution process.
So before we leave, I would expect that we all have a grasp of some of these key terminologies, okay? We just have to understand this from the context of the NESI. And it would appear that the definitions are even generic. Wherever you go, you have common definitions for all this. So we'll have to properly address this. And in doing so, we'll have to speak for the position of the ruling documents. Okay? Thank you very much. And on this note, I want to welcome all of you to the workshop.
Engineer Lawal further tasked the participants to bear their minds on the issues they would want to clarify to enrich their knowledge, saying the role of the independent system operator was critical in the Nigerian electricity supply industry.
Whatever action we take, have collateral effects on the integrity of the market. So we cannot afford to do anything by the rule of thumb. And also, we are not permitted to use our native intelligence to conduct the affairs of the industry. Every action taken must be predicated on established, must be predicated on the established industry norms. Please, you will listen perfectly and ask questions. You are able to ask any question.
The Assistant General Manager, Regulation, Compliance and Market Developments of the ISO at TCN, Engineer Ali Bukar Ahmad, explained the role of a power purchase agreement in the trading of electricity.
Two will come together and agree to buy and sell an amount of energy which is or will be generated by a generator. Power purchase agreements are usually signed for a long-term period between 5 to 25 years. I've never seen power purchase agreement of less than 5 years. I've never seen power purchase agreements that were signed for more than 25 years. We're not saying that there may not be, but basically they are within this range, 5 to 25 years. It is also a supply contract for the long-term sale of power generated by the plant to one or more off-takers, wholesalers if you like, to mitigate the risks of selling energy output.
Engineer Ahmed also spoke about what constitutes the components of a power purchase agreement, PPA, noting that the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, was keen on ensuring that contents of PPAs are enforced.
In Nigeria, power purchase agreements are signed between MBET and the generators under the approval or the approval of Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. So if Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission did not approve, it's not valid. And if you have any addendum, if you want to have a change of the PPA, it must be approved by the Commission.
A transition systems consultant for the World Bank's Nigeria Power Support Program at TCN, Engineer Shehu Amoda said TCN, particularly the system operator, is always involved in the process of executing PPA for power generation and dispatch, as TCN is mainly in charge of the national grid.
SOs are the ones that select the site and location. For instance, the SO might need more ancillary service. They might need it to be to support voltage. You cannot do that job better. Nobody can do that job better than the SO. So, of course, in Nigeria, I don't know. So, people decide where they want to set up the plant themselves. But I'm saying there's also a regulation. The EPSR Act, the market rules, the grid code gave that responsibility to the SO to select the next site for the world. But it does not procure it, but it's the one that set the particular site.
One of the participants at the workshop, Engineer Adeyemo Abidemi, from the TCN National Control Center in Osogbo, spoke about expectations he would get from the training.
We want to reduce the total cost in the system. The power is already there, so that's about it. It's the cost. We are interested in reducing the cost to the consumers and giving them, good quality electricity.
After this break, we will feed you with more informative news reports.
Do you know that vandalizing power infrastructure and stealing its components have negative impact on government's efforts towards improving the nation's power sector? Say no to vandalism. Vandalism leaves TCN with the enormous task of re-erecting and restringing damaged power transmission lines and towers, which cost millions of naira to rebuild. Money that should be used for transmission expansion projects to make increased bulk electricity readily available to electricity consumers through the distribution companies. Do you know that vandals are destroying our common national assets, funded with taxpayers' monies, and negatively impeding our common socio-economic progress? Say no to vandalism. Do not condone vandals, because stealing parts of electricity transmission towers and cables disrupts the transmission of generated power to distribution load centers, threatening the national grid, your comfort, and ultimately the nation's economic growth. So don't just walk away. Be involved. Do something when you observe suspicious activities around transmission installations or even vandals at work. Don't just walk away. Report to any transmission office closest to you or any security outfit around your vicinity. Say no to vandalism. TCN enjoins you to work with us to stop the willful destructions of our collective national assets as we work to transmit increased bulk electricity in the most efficient and effective manner. This message is brought to you by the Transmission Company of Nigeria. TCN, transmitting bulk electricity for national development.
The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, says it has created 2 work centers for Katsina and Jalingo under its Kaduna and Bauchi regions.
A statement by the General Manager Public Affairs at TCN, Mrs. Ndidi Mba, said the work centers were created to further decentralize its services to improve the company's operational efficiency. The Katsina Work Center has 3 transmission substations with 200 MVA energy capacity in Katsina, Kankia and Daura on 132 kV transmission level. 5 other substations are being constructed under Katsina Work Center to add 780 MVA energy to its capacity. The center, which receives supply through Kano on 2 132 kV transmission lines, also has a proposed 120 MVA substation at Mashi local government area, which is yet to commence. The Jalingo Work Center in Taraba State receives supply through the Jalingo Sub-Region 132 kV transmission substation. It has 4 substations with 335 MVA energy capacity across Jalingo, Wukari, Takum, and Kashimbila. TCN said it will continue to rehabilitate and expand the nation's transmission network to ensure a more efficient and effective transmission of bulk electricity to distribution load centers nationwide.
The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, is promoting rapid improvement in the quality of bulk power supply nationwide. You heard on this program how the company was improving the quality of bulk power supply on the 132 kilovolts level. In this special report, we bring you more reports from power substations in Benue, Plateau, and Abuja, where the crew witnessed the operation of the power reactors TCN installed to boost the quality of bulk power transmission across its 330 kilovolts power transmission facilities.
We are here at the 330 132 kilovolts Katampe transmission station in Abuja. This is a reactor device, and we are here to know the functions of this reactor device and how it works. I am Amara Gesi. Please stay with us. May we please meet you, sir?
Yeah, I'm Engineer Ojotomo Soladiji. I am the supervisor of Katampe Area Control, and I want to welcome you to the station.
Thank you very much, sir. So we scheduled this visit to your power, to your substation, to find out more about this reactor, how it works, the functions, how it improves power supply, and a number of other salient issues revolving around this.
The reactor is one of the equipment used to carry out voltage regulations. If the voltage is high in the system, it is the reactor that will lower the voltage to the required level of the grid code. That is, when I say grid code, there is a limit of voltage to which you can operate. You must not exceed those limits. So one of the equipment that help us to maintain those limits, one of them is the reactor. When the voltage is high, it has a capability of destroying some of our equipment. And once the voltage is high, the quality of power you are supplying will be distorted. You know, we supply power in quantity and in quality. So one of the instruments we use in controlling the quality of power we give out is the reactor.
Can we please know when this particular reactor was installed in this substation?
Yeah, this reactor was installed about 2003. Everything is done when the station came up. All the things here were installed together with the reactor because it's very, very important. Just as you are asking me, one of the responsibility of the reactor, again, is that when we have system collapse, when you are coming up, the initial voltage is always high, which is not normal. One of the instruments that we use to lower the voltage before we peak our loads to bring the voltage to the desired value is the reactor.
The power circuit crew was also at the Aperi transmission station in Makurdi, Benue State, where a reactor has been installed by TCN. The Assistant General Manager Transmission at Aperi Sub-Region of the Enugu region of TCN, Engineer Emmanuel Agba, explained the process for operating the reactor in the sub-region.
It's almost 98% completion. We have done the installation, we have done all the wiring, we have done pre-commissioning tests. What actually is holding us now, because there's a new introduction, the SEGI. SEGI is a transformer fire protection equipment. So the management, in their wisdom, bought into the new technology and then invited SEGI company to come and install this protection equipment.
Engineer Agba said almost all the installation activities were handled by in-house engineers of TCN.
Those green segments, the parts, that's the one the contractor did. But the rest, coupling, all this fabrication of all these are done by our engineers in-house.
On the impacts of the power equipment, the TCN official said it was to boost the voltage level of the long-distance 330 kilovolts transmission that came from Ikot-Ikpene in Akwa Ibom State through Ogwaji in Enugu State to the station. The line continues from the station up to Jos in Plateau State.
Who have the problem of over voltage will be a thing of the past, but because we can be able to control the voltage at will. If the voltage becomes too low, we put off the reactor. But when it becomes too high, we bring in the reactor. It is usually for voltage control.
At the Jos 330-132 kilovolts transmission station, the acting Assistant General Manager Bauchi Sub-Region, Engineer Tijani Amodu, said TCN was ensuring that there are 2 reactors in the station. However, Engineer Amodu said with the installation of 2 reactors, TCN was already solving that problem and ensuring that there is much more stability on the national grid.
The reactor installation, already one is in service. So the second one is almost about 95%. There's a newly introduced protection, which is surge. So that's what we are waiting for.
The official at the Jos transmission station further spoke of the impact of the reactors.
We don't want voltage to be above the designed capacity. So now, for us, to avoid that, because of our equipment, and also, the receiving end. The receiving end, like Ashaka tends to complain that, voltage is always high at their end. So we use this thing to suppress, even though one is only suppressing only with about 20 kV. So if you have about 360, you understand, you just reduce 20 kV. You see, you have not done much. You still need more. So that is why the second one is coming in.
Thank you for staying with us. We have heard from officials about the efforts of the TCN in improving power voltage on the national grid. I am Amara Agugesi, reporting from Katampe Transmission Station, Abuja.
Do you know that vandalizing power infrastructure and stealing its components have negative impact on government's efforts towards improving the nation's power sector? Say no to vandalism. Vandalism leaves TCN with the enormous task of re-erecting and restringing damaged power transmission lines and towers, which cost millions of naira to rebuild. Money that should be used for transmission expansion projects to make increased bulk electricity readily available to electricity consumers through the distribution companies. Do you know that vandals are destroying our common national assets, funded with taxpayers' monies, and negatively impeding our common socio-economic progress? Say no to vandalism. Do not condone vandals, because stealing parts of electricity transmission towers and cables disrupts the transmission of generated power to distribution load centers, threatening the national grid, your comfort, and ultimately the nation's economic growth. So don't just walk away. Be involved. Do something when you observe suspicious activities around transmission installations or even vandals at work. Don't just walk away. Report to any transmission office closest to you or any security outfit around your vicinity. Say no to vandalism. TCN enjoins you to work with us to stop the willful destructions of our collective national assets as we work to transmit increased bulk electricity in the most efficient and effective manner. This message is brought to you by the Transmission Company of Nigeria. TCN, transmitting bulk electricity for national development.
Before we sign out on this episode, let's take a look at the stories again. Federal government raises committee to restructure Power Ministry oversight agencies. TCN holds workshop for system operators on electricity market coordination. Our special report was on how TCN's reactors are helping to improve high voltage bulk power transmission on the national grid. Join us on the Power Circuit next week. Meanwhile, you can view this episode and the previous ones on TCN YouTube channel. Please interact with us on these platforms because TCN needs your support to advance its mandate. Coronavirus is real and tens of thousands have died globally. You have to stay safe by observing the NCDC guidelines and all other measures announced by the authorities. I am Chinwenwa Anyanwu. See you next week.